Writing a good fight is difficult for storytellers. Sure, two characters may have opposing interests, and that alone can be the reason they battle it out. But you look at some of the most iconic action sequences in media, and you realize that there's so much more to it than just two characters throwing punches. Iron Man versus Captain America in CA Civil War, Goku versus Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z, Madara versus the entire Shinobi Alliance in Naruto Shippuden. These fights, individually, have unique sequences of action that make them great, yes, but what makes them iconic and stellar in the eyes of the viewer is their context. Context is the centerpiece of any good duel, primarily because it facilitates a goal and a reason for the two characters to be opposed. Sure, one may be good and one person may be bad, but why is it that they fight? Is it because of something personal tied to them in particular? Or perhaps even with an understanding for one another, they must take each other down? Context is what allows for these questions to be answered for the viewer. Zenless Zone Zero is notorious for its many fight sequences in the story, and especially in its marketing. But rather than just looking cool, the reason why all of their fights hit such notes of brilliance is due to how the context shapes that fight into something so much more than what's on the surface. Not only does ZZZ master this art of blending context into uniquely shaped action sequences, it elevates the context of these scenes to a grander and more cinematic scale. Ban Yue's final struggle against Hathor and its ethereal onslaught, Yeshun Guang's cinematic unveiling of the Qingming sword against Ye Shiyuan, the incredibly dynamic scuffle between Lycon and Hugo, and who could forget, of course, Miyabi and Yishuen's incredible Void Hunter level clash. The list just goes on. In my opinion though, even when competing against something like Miyabi vs Yishuen, no fight demonstrates ZZZ's mastery of the craft more than the recent clash between Remielle and Eldreda Sunbringer. Let me explain.
Fine. Truth is, I wasn't really sure how to greet you either. Should I say long time no see, or maybe nice to meet you?
In both 2.8 and 3.0 of Zenless Zone Zero, it's explained to us that the first generation Void Hunter Remielle Dan had tried to assassinate her fellow former Void Hunter Sunbringer. At this point of the story, this revelation changes a lot about how we perceive Remielle, who, up until this point, stood as a morally ambiguous stranger that seemingly knew more than she let on. Now, the story is clearly trying to put us at odds with Remielle and her goals. But is it really that simple? If that were the case, why would she continuously aid us while scouring the singularity leakages? Why continue to humor our Q&A game and even call us her partner in crime when she has the strength to take us out no problem? She's a first-generation Void Hunter. We would be cooked if she actually tried to fight us. This carefully laid facade that Remielle puts on is contrasted by her acts of kindness, compassion, and guidance towards the right way forward. She was the reason why we even knew about Roscalifer in the first place. She's the reason we're here right now. Mind you, it was Norma and Velina who took us here, but our first mention of Roscalifer came from Remielle. It's interesting, yes, but it's only as interesting due to the ongoing mystery of how deep Remielle's wealth of knowledge actually goes. How much does she understand? What is it that she's seeking at the end of all of her teasing and cunning maneuvers? Why did she go after Sunbringer in the first place? To be quite frank, it's fascinating that Zenless put out what I feel is a perfectly crafted fight for just a character demo of Remielle's. Everything about this introduction leads perfectly into what comes after it. The quiet steps in the rain as Remielle silently follows Eldreda Sunbringer into the CCD building. The way that Sunbringer's expression is so stoic and unmoved by this clearly hostile gesture. And the choice of words that Remiel uses in her approaching footsteps demonstrates just how much she knows about Sunbringer's current condition. How, even before the fight begins, she knows that Eldreda Sunbringer isn't the same as her original self. How in the cold, almost sorrowful expression Sunbringer wears, any potential left for a civil chat is squandered, without so much as a punch thrown. And then, suddenly, the look in Sunbringer's eyes rises as we're blasted to the past. The setup is handled with grace and with care, as Remiel from the past uses the idea of a Void Hunter trial as a clear excuse for Sunbringer to accept their challenge. It's childish, sure, but it invokes a sense of comfort in the upcoming squabble for the past. It's seemingly just two friends battling to test each other. But as soon as Remiel takes flight, the battle begins. I first want to point out the difference in weapons here from Remiel's end. In the past, Remiel uses her winged weapon, Thamiel, to swing at Sunbringer from a decent distance. Nothing extremely far, and certainly not at the range of Sunbringer's weapon, but it's enough to present the fight from the present to have a distinct disadvantage for Remiel. With no Void Hunter weapon in tow, Remiel must now close the distance using her prowess and more up-close interactions in order to win. And in this parallel between both fights, the contrasting tone becomes all the more clear. Whereas the fight from the past is almost like an interpretive dance from both parties, each of them matching each other in both power and precision, the fight in the present has such a dark disconnect. Remiel says Sunbringer still has the cold look on her face, but in my opinion, it couldn't be more different. Look at the sheer difference in their expressions here. Some people feel that she may show panic here as her eyes dart back and forth, but in my opinion, Eldreda Sunbringer's eyes invoke such a cold and almost lifeless fighting style, one that seemingly goes on instinct instead of actually being present in the fight mentally. Compare it to how the past fight has Sunbringer engaging with Remiel, pulling her in as a sign to take the fight more seriously. She properly engages with her attacks and meets them as her equal. In this particular cutback, you can even see how present Sunbringer feels so ruthless and relentless in her onslaught, getting dangerously close to ending the fight right then and there if it weren't for Remiel being able to respond defensively, mixing in attacks that push Sunbringer back for dodging and moving to a more evasive stance. The fight's halfway point creates the same situation for the past, where Sunbringer can end the fight if necessary due to putting Remiel on the back foot. But unlike the present, Remiel responds by commenting how Sunbringer is a terrible dance partner, and how, by her quotes exactly, no one wants to get their foot stepped on. This connection to dancing for Remiel is intriguing, to say the least, but it isn't the first time Zenless has presented it to us. Aside from how the many previews of 3.1 show us dancing with her atop a building, Remiel's unarchived agent footage has this to say about her combat footage. The dance techniques that she learned at a young age have been incorporated into her combat. Lifts, spins, flourishes of the sword, each move deadly, yet as elegant as a solo. No better do you see this on display than in the fight's ultimate peak. Remiel is finally putting everything at the forefront, and Sunbringer, whether out of respect or a genuine excitement, follows through. The scale of the fight reaches heights that convey incredibly the sheer power these two Void Hunters hold, and as Remiel's projectiles descend from above, Sunbringer does not falter. She parries everything with extreme precision, running forward as the fight reaches its crescendo, and the elegant movements Remiel puts on display are juxtaposed by her words from the present. But unlike before, these words put into perspective what I feel is the true reason Remiel chooses to fight here and now. Is it to take Sunbringer down? Yes, of course. But more than that, Remiel is trying to force the answers out of someone that cannot give them back. How many lies have you spun to protect this so-called truth? What are you afraid of? For the first time since your introduction in the story, we catch a glimpse of the anger that burns within Remiel's heart. We catch a peek at what drives her forward. A burning desire to reclaim the past that she lost. The questions are abruptly cut by Sunbringer charging her lance with all of her might before throwing it forward at full strength. The parallels don't stop. Back and forth, the fights clash together for screen time as we see the lance just barely avoided by Remiel of the present. And in the past, as Sunbringer shows concern for Remiel's safety, the winged Thyran uses the opportunity to end the fight by finally closing the gap and cornering Sunbringer.
I take it back. My dance partner's not so bad after all. I won't count this as your loss.
Welcome aboard, Void Hunter, Remiel.
More than any fight that you could write up, a lot of people believe that for a fight, you distinctly have to have a winner or a loser. But it's in how Zenless presents this unique draw that somehow shoots this fight into an unreachable height. In its final parallel, the way that Remiel speaks invokes the final tragedy that looms over this entire sequence. It confirms without a shadow of a doubt that Remiel knew Eldreda Sunbringer wouldn't have the answer she was seeking. This desperate pushback to try and fight and force an answer out of someone that should know more. And all that Remiel receives is deafening silence. Imagine how sad it must be to be in Remiel's shoes here. Even as the aggressor in the situation, you can't help but feel bad for her when you realize how hard it must be for her to see this. Someone that looks like your long-lost friend, speaks like your friend, fights like your friend, but has the cold, blank eyes of someone who has no recollection of your part of the story. No capability of putting out the anger that you hold in your heart, only being able to look your way with an empty, nothing stare. It paints the fight entirely as one last try of Remiel's to pull on the hand of her Void Hunter dance partner. It speaks volumes to the potential level of betrayal that Remiel must feel, and how the sheer lack of trust puts Roskalifer as this utopia built on lies and deceit. It's a genuine masterpiece. This fight reminds me a lot of a particular fight from Naruto Shippuden, one where, in a clash of hopes and dreams going against the darkest pits of despair, two once friends fight against each other, borrowing moves from their past selves, using every trick in their arsenal to take home the gold. This fight has reached iconic status in the fandom due to its set pieces, sure, but more importantly than that, the somber track that plays during the sequence illustrates a crucial thread that holds the entire fight together. It is sad, genuinely sad, a haunting poem of disconnection between two once brothers in arms, now fighting for the fate of their home. In what feels like a familiar breath, Zenless has somehow created a fight that invokes its own saddening melody, one that has no victor, has no combatant leaving the fight feeling satisfied. Instead, the air of its conclusion feels quiet. It feels as if both Remiel and Sunbringer knew how pointless the encounter was from the get-go, how both of them knew how the fight would end. But where the angel that fell from the heavens try her damnedest to reclaim the memories of a forgotten time, the hero that once fought back against the Hive Lord Hollow stands Ironically, as a hollow reminder that the past would remain forgotten.